Great Demon King. Chapter 36. The Calm of an Errand Boy. The man-eating monsters emitted eerie, guttural sounds from their mouths as they moved stealthily through the darkness of the dark forest. Their presence was unsettling, with each step they took sending shivers down the spines of the students and teachers alike. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted as the strongest and tallest of the man-eating monsters raised its studded club high, pointing directly at the bandit. With a menacing glare, it signaled the others to advance, and without hesitation, the 8 formidable creatures began to sprint towards the group. Before the monsters could fully close the distance, strings of magical incantations pierced the night air. Bundles of bone arrows materialized out of thin air, guided by the precise chants of the students up. Those above the level of magic apprentice took it a step further, launching bone spears, an advanced form of necromancy magic similar to bone arrows, but requiring at least novice-level mastery. These spears, slightly more powerful than bone arrows, streaked through the air with deadly intent, flying straight for the 8 man-eating monsters. The 8 creatures, though not renowned for their speed, did their best to dodge the incoming attacks. Their reflexes were swift, yet their natural agility was no match for the relentless barrage of magical projectiles. Despite their efforts, some were still hit by bone arrows and spears. However, their bodies were exceedingly durable. The bone arrows only caused them to cry out in pain and temporarily slowed their movements, failing to pierce their tough hides. It was only the bone spears that left bloody holes in their flesh, green blood trickling out from the wounds, a stark testament to the spell's potency. As the 8 monsters continued their relentless assault, their injuries accumulated, yet none of them fully lost their ability to fight. They crashed into the outer defensive perimeter, their aggression undiminished by the pain, and began attacking the inner ring of defenders. Inside the defensive ring, Han Shuo maintained his orderly and unruffled demeanor. His face remained calm, almost impassive, as he observed the fast-approaching man-eating monsters, methodically sizing up their battle strength with cold precision. "Let the dark creatures attack," Fanny shouted with authority, her beautiful features hardening into a grave expression as she watched the man-eating monsters draw nearer. Her command galvanized the group into action. The summoned ghouls, skeletal warriors, zombie warriors, and hate warriors all held their positions firmly, striking out only when the man-eating monsters closed the distance. However, the man-eating monsters were tall and muscular, their powerful physiques providing them with a formidable defense. Except for the hate warriors, which could actually inflict some damage with their metal clubs, the attacks from the other dark creatures had limited effect. The ghouls and skeletal warriors proved particularly ineffective against the resilient monsters. They were immediately pulverized beneath the studded clubs, their ethereal forms disintegrating into pieces, while the ghouls died in a gruesome mass of flesh and gore. The zombie warriors, slightly more durable, could withstand multiple hits from the studded clubs but staggered weakly after being struck a few times, their movements becoming erratic and disoriented. What to do? What to do? Will these damned man-eating monsters eat us? One student cried out in despair, their voice trembling with fear. "Oh my gosh, why are their bodies so durable? The bone arrows have no effect when they hit." Another exclaimed in frustration, shaking their head in disbelief. "Screwed. We're all screwed. We should have gone back yesterday. Wah, wah." A third voice wailed, the fear evident in their trembling words. Rounds of depressed complaints and fearful sobs echoed through the group, momentarily disrupting their spells and weakening their resolve. The students' anxiety was palpable, their magical focus faltering under the weight of their fear. "Master Jean, let's use the corpse explosion spell, quick," Fanny called out abruptly, her beautiful face hardening as she observed the students' growing despair. Her voice cut through the chaos, a beacon of determination amidst the panic. "Oh, perished soul, my will be the command. Surrender your body to me. Explode violently. Corpse explosion." Fanny and Jean chanted in unison, their voices resonating with dark power. Fanny pointed decisively at the man-eating monster she had previously speared, while Jean directed his spell at another fallen zombie warrior. 2 violent explosions erupted from the bodies of the targeted creatures. The man-eating monster and the zombie warrior were obliterated in an instant, the force of the corpse explosion spell ripping them apart with a deafening roar. The 4 injured man-eating monsters nearby, including 2 zombie warriors fighting against them, were thrown forcefully through the air by the blastat. The 4 man-eating monsters were blasted apart with loud shattering sounds, their bodies torn asunder along with the 2 zombie warriors. They lay still and unmoving on the ground, the magic having completely eradicated their threat. Han Shuo's eyes shone brightly as he fixed his gaze on Fanny. He was genuinely astonished by the corpse explosion magic. He had witnessed firsthand how the exploded man-eating monster's body had abruptly lit up after Fanny finished her incantation, followed by a powerful force that disintegrated it entirely. Of the 4 man-eating monsters who had been blasted apart, 3 had died beneath Fanny's magic. Han Shuo had only heard a little about the corpse explosion spell before. He understood that only adept mages could cast it, and that the intensity of the explosions varied with the mage's strength. Fanny's corpse explosion magic had been noticeably more potent than Jean's, likely due to Fanny's mastery and her use of man-eating monsters as fodder for her spells. However, it was clear that the corpse explosion spell significantly drained their mental strength. Both Fanny and Jean's faces were pale after casting the spell, and they panted heavily, their bodies showing the toll of the powerful magic they had unleashed. Up until now, of the original 8 man-eating monsters, Fanny had killed 1 with a bone spear, and 4 more had been obliterated with the corpse explosion spells. Although the 2 hate warriors had been impaled by the man-eating monster spears, they continued to hold their ground and resolutely tied up 2 more man-eating monsters. Only the strongest and tallest man-eating monster remained largely unaffected. It wielded a studded club and sprinted towards them with a frenzied intensity, making weird noises and even yelling simple phrases like, I will kill you. Kill you. Its determination was unwavering, driven by a predatory instinct that no amount of magical attacks could quell. We've just used the corpse explosion spell and pretty much drained our mental strength. We'll be unable to use any other high-level magic for a while. Everyone run. Genie's face grew panicked as he realized the depletion of their magical reserves and the escalating threat posed by the remaining monster. He yelled urgently, his voice laced with fear. Fanny glanced around, her eyes darting between the approaching monster and her weary comrades. Everyone hurry and leave. Don't get caught by these monsters, she urged, her voice edged with desperation as she urged the students to flee. Panic spread even more among the group after Fanny and Jean's urgent pleas. The students abandoned their dropped resources, frantically trying to distance themselves from the studded club-wielding, rapidly sprinting man-eating monster. The chaos of the moment left them disorganized and vulnerable, their attempts to escape hampered by the surrounding darkness and their own fear. Except, although the man-eating monster's speed wasn't excessively fast, it was still quicker than the students, particularly as the latter sometimes tripped over the remains of the pulverized skeletal warriors in their panic. This resulted in an incomparable speed advantage for the man-eating monsters, making it nearly impossible for the students to evade them effectively. Fanny's thoughts were consumed with the safety of the students as she urged them to flee. She hung back herself, ensuring that the youngest and most vulnerable members were escaping safely. The tall man-eating monster, remembering that Fanny had cast the corpse explosion spell that had obliterated 3 of its kin, chased after her without hesitation. Its studded club was raised high, crashing down towards Fanny with lethal intent. Master Fanny, be careful, Lisa screamed, her voice filled with fear as she watched the studded club hurtling towards Fanny. Watch out. Fanny, behind you, Jean called out urgently, his eyes wide with alarm as he saw the club descending rapidly. Fanny turned just in time, her beautiful eyes wide with horror as she saw the studded club falling straight at her. The sharp points of the studs sparkled with cold light, and the accompanying whooshing sound underscored the immense strength behind the blow. Her enchanting face, now starkly white without a trace of color, and her beautiful legs, once graceful and strong, were suddenly rendered weak and vulnerable. A feeling of mournful helplessness rose within her eyes as the studded club grew larger in her vision. Clang! Sparks flew everywhere as 2 studded clubs collided in front of her. The sharp studs had already been flattened at the point of contact, still emitting some metallic sparks. She followed her gaze down the opposing studded club, and was startled to discover that Han Shuo had appeared on her lefty. Both of his hands were tightly grasping the studded club, which was completely disproportionate to his body. Veins bulged on his forehead and arms, and his face twisted into a grimace as he stared fixedly at the man-eating monster. Time seemed to slow as Han Shuo stood before Fanny, his demeanor calm yet fierce. His hands, though small and seemingly fragile, held the studded club with an unwavering grip. The club's weight was immense, yet he bore it effortlessly, his muscles tense and ready for action. The man-eating monster, undeterred by its previous losses, charged forward with renewed aggression, its eyes burning with a savage hunger. Fanny watched in awe and disbelief as Han Shuo stood his ground. Brian, what are you doing? She whispered, her voice barely audible over the chaos. Without a word, Han Shuo moved with lightning speed. His left arm swung violently, and the durable wooden sticks tied to his arms caught the man-eating monster's sharp claws. The impact was immediate, sending shockwaves through the creature's body. His right hand thrust out, releasing a bright red line through the air. The motion was swift and precise, his hand landing squarely on the monster's lower abdomen before retracting. Jin's bone arrows arrived just in time, 2 arrows soaring towards the man-eating monster. The creature let out a series of ghastly wails as it staggered and fell lifelessly to the ground with a heavy thud. The remaining 7 man-eating monsters, already wounded and confused, began to retreat in panic, their cries fading into the darkness as they vanished without a trace. Amy watched in astonishment, her eyes wide with surprise. Master Jin's bone arrows are so strong they killed that barbed-tailed cat in a flash. The bone arrows that we and Master Fanny shot only injured them, and weren't nearly as powerful. The other students echoed her astonishment, and even Fanny gazed at Jin with a mixture of surprise and admiration. Bone arrow is just a basic attack magic. You were able to kill a barbed-tailed cat immediately with this magic. This is truly amazing, she exclaimed, her voice filled with genuine admiration. Jin's expression shifted from initial confusion to a confident smile as he nodded faintly at everyone, acknowledging the power of his attack magic. His earlier uncertainty was replaced by a sense of pride, his eyes reflecting the strength behind his spells. Brian, when you slashed at the cat with your right hand just now, why did I seem to see a red line slash through the air? What's going on? Although Master Jin killed the barbed-tailed cat, it seemed like you were the one who disrupted its balance, right? Lisa questioned, her eyes locked onto Han Shuo with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. Don't think nonsense, Lisa. Brian merely hit the cat once, but his hit didn't have much effect. What harm could he possibly bring to the barbed-tailed cat with his errand slave strength? Bach interjected, casting a disdainful glance at Han Shuo with a voice heavy with sarcasm. Han Shuo smiled innocently, maintaining his composed facade. The other students, having witnessed the same scene, looked at him with confusion and uncertainty. To them, Han Shuo was still just an errand slave incapable of such feats. Their respect for him had not yet solidified, and they struggled to reconcile his recent actions with their preconceived notions. Fanny, however, saw something different in Han Shuo's demeanor. She approached him, her eyes gleaming with a mix of curiosity and admiration. Excellent work, Brian. Your magic saved us tonight. Han Shuo nodded modestly, the satisfaction of his hard-earned progress evident in his eyes. As the last of the man-eating monsters fell, the group allowed themselves a moment of respite, the tension gradually ebbing away as they regrouped and tended to their wounds. The night had been a testament to their resilience and the growing strength of their necromantic abilities. For Han Shuo, it was another step toward mastering his magic and redefining his role within the necromancy major. With each battle, he felt himself growing stronger, more attuned to the dark energies that flowed within him. As dawn approached, the group began to settle down once more, their spirits lifted by the hard-fought victory. Han Shuo reflected on the events of the night, his mind racing with thoughts of power, potential, and the ever-present desire to prove himself worthy of the respect he had so long been denied. "Prepare to fight," Fanny had called out, and in that moment Han Shuo realized that he was no longer just an errand slave. He was a magical genius in his own right, capable of wielding dark and formidable magic to protect himself and his comrades. With renewed determination, Han Shuo looked forward to the challenges ahead, confident that his subconscious changes had unlocked a hidden potential that would guide him through the dangers of the dark forest and beyond. Walking alongside Fanny and Jin, Han Shuo felt a sense of purpose and determination. The calmness he had maintained throughout the battle was a stark contrast to the panic that had once plagued his fellow students. His ability to stay composed under pressure had not only protected the group, but also earned him a measure of respect that had previously eluded him. As the group prepared to continue their journey deeper into the dark forest, Han Shuo knew that the true challenges were still ahead. But with his growing magical abilities and the support of his mentors and peers, he was confident that he could overcome whatever obstacles lay in their path. With each step, Han Shuo embraced his evolving role, ready to face the dangers of the dark forest and unlock the full potential of his magical prowess. The calm of an errand boy had transformed into the resolve of a rising necromancer, setting the stage for future adventures and deeper discoveries in the heart of the mysterious forest.